Could you introduce yourself briefly here?
Yeah, sure. I'm Michael. Michael Bay from Germany. I am a graduate student in computer science, and I started last fall. I'm also an activist of the political Green Party, the local chapter, the Prairie Greens in Urbana-Champaign. We recently founded a student organization to advocate the green values more effectively in the student body, because we experience a great political apathy in the student community, and it's for our country to continuously improve itself or question what we're doing. It's important that everybody is concerned with politics and thinks about it. And with the current situation, we believe that many people are not really questioning what the US government is doing or what is going on in the political world.
So the Green Party is pretty much is it like a worldwide thing? I mean, I know there's a Green Party in Europe, right?
Yes, yeah. So the Green Party is active in 91 countries in the world, in the governments of Greece, Latvia and Sweden, but also in the opposition in the parliament in Germany. So it's not only an American movement, but it's a worldwide movement, not only for advocating, say, environmentalism, but also pro-immigration reforms, gender equity, socialist policies, ecological wisdom, future sustainability, grassroots democracy, anti-violence, a distance from wars, and an end of murdering innocent civilians, especially with drone attacks that are issued to the Middle East. Those are the values that we stand for.
That sounds pretty progressive to me. Were you involved with the Green Party in Germany before you came here?
No, I wasn't that active there. The motivation that drove me to actually start the student organization here and to become politically involved was what I observed here and what I witnessed was happening. So compared to Germany, the situation is much more severe. We have police shootings happening like every week anywhere in the country. We have a surveillance that controls every citizen and saves data, but nobody cares about it. And me studying computer science, I know what this will evolve to in a few years, and that nobody will maintain any privacy anymore.
Right.
And we also have a country where its president was claimed to be or was given the Peace Nobel Prize, but started more wars than any president before. So those are things that actually shocked me or motivated me to do something, to fight more for more awareness in the minds of people, because many people don't know about these or are not interested at all.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it's less that people are apathetic and more that they just don't know. And so they would be upset if they knew about it, but they don't know about it, and they don't know how to find out about it, or they don't, because the media. One reason I'm involved in independent media like this, even though probably our reach is very small and our audience is very small, comparatively speaking, is that we can talk about this stuff, and there's nobody saying, well, you know, that last show, I think you need to tone it down a bit. Our sponsors don't like it. I mean, we have no sponsors, so we're just here. And we can say virtually anything we want, as long as it's legal. We can't swear or anything like that. But, I think the media, though, really presents this sort of picture of, oh, everything's okay. There are problems, but they're usually somewhere else. So you don't need to worry about them. And here's the latest interesting but not important thing, like celebrity who did this or, whatever. That's what the media gives us, huge amounts of that stuff. So I think a lot of people just sort of soak that up and go, well, everything's okay. It's not bad. There's some problems, but it's mostly over there. And, ooh, look at this latest, what I mean? They just follow along. And it's not that they're apathetic necessarily. Maybe apathetic in the sense that they don't care enough to find out. Is that what you mean when you say apathetic, or do you mean they actually just don't care, even if you tell them they don't care, or what?
It's more diverse. So there are people, as you say, which don't know about it, and which primarily watch mainstream media channels where the issues that I'm talking about are not reported as much as in other channels, like on WRFU radio or on Democracy Now! Or in the public eye. But on the other hand, you also have people like primarily, since I'm an engineering student, in the engineering community, where I personally talked to these students and made them aware of these concerns, but they still think that as long as it doesn't directly concern them, they don't see a need to get involved. So whatever happens abroad or whatever happens to other people, minority groups, is not their issue.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I don't interact with very many people like that. So I'm not as conscious of that they exist, I suppose.
Right. But you also have, we're staging, with the political group Aware, we are staging demonstrations every month in downtown Champaign. And the people that we talk to, they are just normal US citizens. 70% of them probably don't know about the drone attacks that the US is issuing, for example. So that more fits the picture of not being aware, just a lack of knowledge. So there exist these two kinds, I would say.
I suppose as countries become more developed and wealthier, there is a greater cushion created between the average person and the problems that exist around them. So there are, like the U.S., for example, is big enough that we can do a lot of polluting in places not where people are. And so people go, well, it's pretty nice. Yeah, it's, it's not polluted. You know what I mean? Like, we can do a lot of things somewhere else that don't affect people directly, and then all those people you're talking about who are just like, well, if it doesn't affect me.
Yes.
It doesn't, because they've got plenty to eat, they've got a place to live, they've got all these things. They don't see why they need to be involved, I guess.
Yeah, and also sometimes, of course, the argument of 9/11 is taken as a reason for the need to maintain security and to prevent terrorist attacks. Reasons the attacks and starting of wars. But people don't see or people don't feel what others are experiencing in third world countries or in countries in the Middle East. They don't see that 3,000 people have been murdered in Pakistan, only 2% of them high-profile targets. And they don't see that the government is basing these attacks only on speculations and not on rigorous data.
Yeah.
Because they can, because nobody cares about it.
Well, that's the genius of the drone thing, is the only people that are dying is them. It's not us,
Yes.
So you can conduct wars all over the place, and it's like, well, your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your children are not being asked to fight, or not being called to war, or if they are, they just go somewhere to a building and do something, and then they come back. It's no big deal. They're piloting drones, but they're not actually fighting anybody.
Right.
So why should we worry? It's those people, those troublemakers over there, that are causing the problems. We're reducing the problems that they're causing by killing them, or whoever else happens to be in the way.
Yeah, and it's not even sure that we're reducing the problem. So
no, I know
we're maybe killing some people, but say people that have lived peacefully before and lived had a neutral stance on the conflicts of the U.S. and terrorism, rather see the U.S. as an enemy of that result. I mean, if you happen to imagine a family father who comes home after a normal day and sees his house bombed, who would not react seeing these people who are responsible for that attack as an enemy as a result of that?
Well, you don't have to convince me, but probably there are listeners out there that we do have to convince. So I suppose it boggles my mind. It really, it's just amazing how separate the U.S. imagines itself to be from the rest of the world. You know what I mean? It's like we're responsible for them in the sense that we feel like, well, there's problems there, so we need to send military there to do this or do that. But we don't feel responsible for them if they're starving. We don't feel responsible for them if, we create problems for them, pollute them or steal their water or whatever. We're not responsible for that, but we're somehow responsible for them if they start acting scary in some way. Then we have to go stop them from being scary. It's very strange.
Yes, and we're not even responsible for our own people. I mean, the immigrants that we have here, or the gradually increasing number of people in poverty, cities that go bankrupt, or the huge rates of unemployed people. That's something that we don't think we need to resolve before we start a war.
So. Apparently not. Well, you keep saying we, so I'm assuming that you feel some sense of ownership over the U.S. now. Have you come here to stay, or are you just visiting? Or
I've come here to stay for a longer time. So when I'm committing to a country, I usually identify myself with that country as well.
Okay, well, that's cool. I just wondered because, sometimes it's... when you're talking about atrocities and things like that, it's much more convenient to say they do this or you guys do that than we, because you're sort of taking ownership of some of these things that are going on out here in a way that I even try to shy away from. And I was born here, but I'm like, we're not doing it. The government is doing that. That's not me. But I guess it is me in a way. They're doing it.
I mean, officially we have a democratic system in the United States,
technically.
And so any citizen living here has, if he has the right to vote, possibility to elect a government that is responsible for these actions. And so anybody living there has the possibility to change something. So it is his or her responsibility. He is also partially responsible for what the government is doing. That's how I see.
Well, you're right. It's so much more convenient to kind of shove it off to someone else than it is to. It's like, well, I wouldn't do that if I had any say in it. I wouldn't do it, and I vote against that.
Right, but if everybody thought like I shove it off, then who will actually change something?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Well, your candidate presumably will do that, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
At least maybe. Hopefully, we're achieving some awareness. That's what we're primarily fighting for. It's not like a political battle we're not believing that the Green Party can achieve sufficient votes to actually have some say in the parliament, but it's more like, as you say, there's many people who don't know about these issues, and we want to make them know.
So you think... You don't think you can win elections?
Well, past elections have shown that there's still a vast majority of people who vote for the established two parties, probably for reasons that they have more funding as a result of corporate support. The Green Party is non-corporate funded, so it's much more difficult to be financially stable and to have a funded campaign. On the other hand, restrictions in the system itself make it much more challenging for a third party to build their way up into the parliament. So you need more signatures for a representative to make his way to Congress. People are quite reluctant of voting for you because they don't know about you. And also, part of the values that we're advocating, like socialist reforms, are stigmatized in the United States. And thus, if you're saying, so I'm advocating social policies, people will be like, oh, I won't support that, whatever it is. Even though sometimes in their core, they actually think the same way. It's just the word itself is what they're not supporting.
Well, and then you'll run into people who, part of the genius of the two-party system is that by creating this binary, of extremes, it's like, well, we have to stop them because they're really bad. These guys aren't great, but these guys are really bad. So if I vote for you, that's just stealing a vote from, the good guys, or the better of the two bad ones.
Right.
And that in that case, then the worst of the bad ones is going to win, and therefore I can't do it. Because there was a lot of talk. Which election was it? It was about three or four ago when Ralph Nader was running as a third-party candidate. This was a while back, and people were furious at people who were voting for Nader because it's like he can't possibly win, and every vote for him is essentially a vote for the Republicans because
it's lost.
You're just throwing your vote away. It was
the
the comment, and I still know people that are angry about that, about him running, and about that whole thing. And it's like, I have to say, it's a compelling argument.
It is a compelling argument, but the mistake, at least from my perspective, lies in the system itself that makes it barely possible for a third party to come into the parliament. And, as long as we maintain that, maybe we can achieve a higher awareness in people's minds, but we can hardly establish a third party in the Congress.
It's very difficult, and it's not like there's any rule against it. It just isn't. There have been a couple of high-profile third-party candidates in history, at least since I've been voting, that I can remember, who really took a lot of votes. I mean, they did fairly well, but never well enough to
really be successful. Or anyhow effective.
And that's where the U.S. system is different from European systems. Like you keep talking about the parliament. We don't have the parliament here. We have Senate and Congress. And in a parliament, you can have like multiple
parties,
groups, and they have to work together in all these ways that here they don't necessarily have to. If you're a third party person and you're elected, like Bernie Sanders, for example, is an independent.
Right.
But he has to caucus with somebody. He has to work with one side or the other. He has to pick a side.
Yes.
And hang out with them, basically. So it's like almost pointless, in a sense, to be in a different party because ultimately he has to choose one to work with, which is kind of a weird way that they've got the rules.
And he'd probably be more successful if he chose it from the very beginning rather than being independent, because the party provides him with resources, with infrastructure and support that he doesn't have as an independent politician.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. It's frustrating to live here. It's weird it's a first world problem for sure to live in a rich country and have plenty of money and all that stuff, and then be frustrated on top of it because it's like, well, at least I have food and shelter and all these different things, but it's very frustrating because I personally, just as a citizen, I feel very, not helpless, but close to helpless to really affect real change in the way things are. And I'm not sure. Like you seem optimistic enough about what you're doing. Share that optimism with me. Give me some reason to be optimistic. What can I do?
Yeah, so I believe that people, as you say, are not necessarily. Of course, you have these people that think it doesn't concern them, and you have the people that don't know about it. But deep in their hearts, deep in their core, every person has a socialist mentality or has some,
I think so.
Some helpfulness to society. And when we founded the student organization, we were like widely looking for other students on campus, and we didn't believe that many people would join. But when we spoke to different students, we actually achieved, like just in the first meeting, 20 participants from all different majors. Even business students participated, and people that didn't necessarily identify themselves with the Green Party before, but that just discovered in this process of discussing issues that they believe in the values as well. I believe that if more people talk and if more people become aware, if you just advertise these values more, make more people think about politics, there is a possibility for us in the longer term. It's a long-term movement. It takes time to do reforms and to change something. Is that convincing or?
No, that's very convincing. So what you're saying is, instead of, your goal isn't like, by the next election I am working to elect an entire Green Party slate
not the goal.
from the bottom.
That's not realistic.
It's more, you're hoping by using this as a conversation starter. So I say, here is my political stance. Here are the things I believe in. It gets people to talk about it in a way that they wouldn't if you just said, well, I think we need more of this and more of that. It's like, yeah, that's just all. It provides a package, I guess.
Yes.
To say, here's my package of beliefs. What do you think? And it gets other people to respond, either to go, well, that sounds pretty good, or I don't know, that's kind of weird. How does that work? It gets a conversation going, and
it's not only beliefs, but it's more like information and education. So we are organizing a public debate where we cover these issues and we discuss them. And it's not that we want to impose our values. We just want to make people see things that are not reported in the mainstream media. And a lot of them will change their minds once they know these. But it just the media, the mainstream media is not talking about them, and that's why people don't know.
Well, I mean, in defense of the mainstream media, and I can't defend it a lot, but I think they don't talk about it partly because the society as a whole doesn't talk about it. It's not an issue, or it's not a list of issues or a slate of issues that most people, I don't want to say care about, it's more like understand. Is that the right way of putting it? They don't understand them. Like, it doesn't fit with their existing belief system. According to the existing American or U.S. belief system, you're an individual. Your success or failure in life depends on yourself, how hard you work. You're supposed, because of the way things are set up, you're supposed to be able to work hard and achieve success and worry about yourself and let other people worry about themselves. And that's kind of the U.S. system. It's like, don't think too much about those people over there. They have their own, that's
they have
what,
their own problems, and let them have them, but as long as it doesn't concern me.
Well, the operative term, I think, that you hear a lot in this country is freedom.
Right.
You hear that all the time, and it's insidious, because what you think is, oh, we're free. We're not restrained in any way. But what it really means, what they're saying when they say that is, you are free to not care about that guy over there. You are free to do whatever it takes to get what you want.
Yes.
See what I'm saying?
I understand what you mean. This
from social responsibility.
Correct. Yes, that's
right.
That's a very reasonable way to phrase it.
And And so anytime you start bringing up all this slate of things that you're talking about here, like concern for the environment, well, that requires that you don't maybe drive that big SUV because you're actually polluting and you're using a lot of gas. But wait, I'm free. You can't tell me what to do, so I should be free to do that. I can afford it. I want to do it. This is a free country, therefore I can do it. And you're saying, well, we're socialist at heart, we should care about each other and stuff. But wait a minute, I'm free to not care about those people over there. Those people have problems. They made their own problems. Let them figure it out. I am free to not care about them. So in this country, what freedom means is as much free to not do things as it is free to do things. And I think that's probably right there your biggest hurdle, that you're going to have to figure out a rhetorical way of jumping over that freedom hurdle, if you want to call it that, to express why you have to do things or give up things.
Yeah, I guess we're conflicting another law that is rooted, or I don't know where it's rooted in the American law set, but at least in the German law set, that freedom goes as far as you violate another person's freedom. And if you see the environment or say other people as entities, as individuals that you are concerning with the actions you take, then you violate that law constantly, because driving an SUV will disadvantage people's lives in one generation or in the next 10 years when they don't have the possibility to rely on fossil fuels anymore, or when they are living in a world that has experienced a drastic climate change.
Right.
On the same time, you're responsible for a vastly spreading poverty in the world by recklessly using other people's work for your own benefit. I mean, that's what big corporations do, and what 0.1% is essentially claiming their justification from.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think about this stuff all the time, so I'm constantly like trying to figure out, like, why is it that people think it's okay to do these things or to be this way? Like, why doesn't anybody care about, you're talking about surveillance earlier, why don't people care about that? Why doesn't that matter to them? And it's strange to me. It's really strange. I think on one hand, it's partly you can sort of tell yourself, well, in, let's say, a tribal society where we all live together, everybody would know what I was doing.
Right.
They all know me. They all know where I'm, maybe I have some private moments when I'm by myself out in the woods or whatever, but for the most part, we're all working together and we're all hanging around. We all know each other. So how is that so different writ large in the internet age, where my email or the websites I go to, I'm not up to anything, so what does it matter? Why does it matter that people are watching? I hate to say it, but we have used up our time.
Okay.
We have to go. I really appreciate you coming in. I hope that we talked about everything you wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
You didn't miss anything.